there, gentle people, and welcome back to another episode of the It's Not Always Dark podcast. I'm Kieran.
And I'm Erin, and today we will be talking about that little thing called YouTube.
That drain pipe in the internet that takes up all your time and productivity. We're gonna give it all of our time and productivity for a whole hour.
As we all, to be fair, 1 hour is nothing in the grand scale of the amount of time that I invest into this platform.
That's just like spent scrolling sometimes on YouTube for me. I love to scroll and like say, oh, I'm not going to watch that, but I know it exists now.
Oh, my watch later playlist is...
Do you watch your watch later playlist?
Well, to be fair, I use my watch later playlist to put like art videos that I want to come back and do, so it's just like crafts that I want to do.
I do that sometimes too, but I feel like that's I'll like save, because I love a bit of ASMR. I'm really impartial to like, I see someone release something and I'm like, I will want to see this some point soon, so I don't want to forget about it.
And you don't want it to get lost in the subscription box, because we know it's a messy place.
I know it is funnily enough called Watch Later, but like it's only sometimes Watch Later for me, because there's some stuff in there that I've still not watched.
Oh yeah, but you know,
but it's there.
It felt important enough.
The intention, it did at the time, and now maybe it lost importance or has decided to make itself slightly less important to me.
So to begin today, I feel like it might be quite apparent already, but both of us are quite big YouTube consumers.
We've put in the hours.
I would say probably I have equivalent YouTube view time, probably more actually than I do like Netflix or anything like that, because
for sure.
I just always seem, even if I'm doing something, I'll have YouTube on in the background.
If YouTube were like a prison sentence, I've at least served like a life sentence in prison.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't want. You know how you get like Spotify Wrapped, how it tells you how many minutes you spent?
No.
Can you imagine?
Please don't ever tell me how much. That would be
the exposure.
The biggest read. They would absolutely read us for filth with the results. They'd be like, hey, so you spent at least 320 something days a year on YouTube. How does that make you feel? But it's one of those things, I don't want to watch TV anymore, because sometimes meeting a schedule, I can't. Yeah. Readily available content, I'm here for it.
Well, it's also I think I base my YouTube viewing based on how long the video is versus how much time I have. If I've got a class starting in 15 minutes, I know that I could put on an 8-minute video while I get ready.
Exactly.
And
precisely, to fill up the time in between.
Yeah.
I love putting things on and not watching it directly, but having it as some background noise whilst I do other stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm just doing washing or something, I'll shove a video on and I'll be listening to it as I'm shaking stuff out and putting it over to dry. But that's my go-to.
I have people that I watch for that, and but there are people that do slightly more, I guess, artsy videos that are more less talking, and then so you kind of have to get the visual. You give it more of your attention. So you're right, well, I can't watch that just now. I'll be getting added to the watch later. I'll be back.
You definitely have to pick what content you can consume within the time frame, because if it's just coming to you audibly, you want to make sure that it's being presented in a way that's very descriptive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you kind of just
just getting some fun royalty-free music in the background.
Who doesn't love a bit of royalty-free?
But let's begin. Kieran, what was your sort of discovery of YouTube, and how did it come to be, this relationship?
Okay, my earliest memories of being on YouTube include a couple people. So I remember seeing Fred very early on, the high-pitched comedy type.
I forgot quite a throwback. Existed. Wow.
Yeah, Lucas Cruikshank made a little mini empire that then collapsed shortly after, because for some reason everyone was oh, we're okay with you doing a character, but then when the character was revealed to them, they were like, oh, we don't like you. I think it's the same way for Miranda Sings. People get too attached to what's behind the character that sometimes the character just goes away, or lessens. Because you're like, oh, that's a bit cringe now, because now people are invested in what I'm doing and want to see more. But then, I don't know, I think that's just the risk you take with character work. Oh,
Colleen's
they're
on
all
Broadway,
doing fine.
or she was anyway.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's been doing fine in their careers. I just think it's like, as it was perceived, like, I remember watching Fred and Miranda Sings at the point that they were doing like the peak character work, and everyone found it hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny, and like it would be memed all the time, and then it's just kind of fell out of favor, which I don't know why that is, but it has, and you can like tell.
But I think like, so YouTube was established in 2005, and I think it was just like, as much as the world was like tits up in a completely different way during that era, like we were in like a depression in terms of financial, like, was it 2008? Everything crashed, and we had
Probably.
There was a whole thing, and war, and so much was happening.
Oh, and war.
Just like
war.
That little thing.
War.
War. But like, I think even like
just that little tiny thing that don't affect many people. War.
Oh, I didn't mean to be so like
no, it's so funny.
Blasé about it, but you know what I meant.
Famine.
Just, famine.
Just the world going tits up. Really, I think
the world was tits up a completely different way though. So like,
totally.
At that point in time, I think humor was very sort of light-hearted when you think about what was on telly. You had like your like Gavin and Stacey's, and like Miranda Hart.
Yeah, but that's very British based, I suppose. But like,
even in general, like,
even going around like in the early 2000s, we were still doing like it's the best way to describe these shows, like the sitcoms that were still laugh track like reliant to provide that good feeling, and then also they were very like, how we had like Skater Boys, and like, I'm trying to like think of the best way to describe this intro that's in my head, because I just watched a TV show yesterday that had this exact type of intro on. It's just a somewhat punk rock theme song included with like, running into the room, pointing a camera at someone, and then being like, no, and then it freeze frames and says their name.
Yeah.
That like Lizzie McGuire aesthetic.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was like
that was 2000s comedy for a good bit, and then YouTube was kind of doing that and kind of saying also no. Yeah. Because we just have other types of comedy to present.
So like I do think when I think of like early YouTube, it was little comedy videos that kind of were what went viral. It wasn't necessarily like, there probably were other things that were popular, but I wouldn't say it probably had the variety that it has now. And then it was also quite like a wholesome, like quite family friendly vibe. But then I don't know if that's just because we were younger and that's what we were exposed to, but
I will say there was some stuff I saw like on my early days on YouTube that wasn't the most like family friendly content. So I think that's remained accurate to this day, that YouTube just is a video platform that people will express themselves on in whatever way they see fit. And that's why like, people like Shane Dawson were able to be so famous for a while, because shock humor is another way of getting attention. And if you're the most shocking person on a platform, people are gonna pay you attention because you're being shocking. Like
that's also just like comedy in general. Like that's your like Frankie Boyles and
totally. If you do the most outrageous thing possible and say the most like unheard of thing, people are going to look at it and go, oh, you said that?
But then obviously
these days we've kind of gone through like like I feel like that type of content was so saturated back in the day with like, remember how there was like YouTube parodies by people like Bart Baker? He'd like do everyone, and the content was just, I couldn't really get behind any of that type of humor, because
I know like my little brother found that really
hateful.
funny, but like because it was like silly. It's nonsensical, but it's the same way that like nowadays there are YouTubers that are just like, I personally can't watch them because it's just like loud and in your face, but
For
like,
me, that's like the Paul brothers,
like the
Logan
Paul
and
brothers,
Jake Paul.
like the UK equivalent.
Avoid.
I would like not the UK equivalent. I shouldn't say that because they're not horrible people as far as I'm aware. But like the like sidemen and that whole kind of crew,
I was literally just about to say that.
they're so like
They were someone who appeared on my timeline recently with like a video that's like real life Tinder.
Yeah.
And I saw an ad for it and I was like, what's funny about like looking at someone and going, oh, you're not my type? Like, how childish.
but they get like views and then like
I've
they
seen
have
their
a whole
views, like 13 million.
they have a whole like
That was
group
the-
of
I think
people
the view
around
count for
them
the
that aren't
Tinder.
even like in the sidemen that
Yeah.
have it's just like that high it's so high energy like I can't watch it personally.
Yeah.
Like it's
There's too much going
the
on.
addressing when they're addressing the camera, it's like, "Hey guys," and I'm like, I didn't come here to be
Yeah.
shouted at, but like I appreciate that like kids
that's
like
fun.
that. Kids like bright colors and loudness
Yeah,
and
it's a place to put your attention.
yeah. But going back to like early YouTube, my like first experiences of YouTube were sort of these like viral videos that like people are like, oh, have you seen that? Or like funny cat videos. That was very
Yeah.
early YouTube. And then there was like early
Like
British
cat keyboard.
yes, cat keyboard is iconic. Like if you don't know what that is,
That will go down.
I think if you were to search it and it came up, you'd be like, oh yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah.
Or like
And
the duck
then-
song and stuff. But then there was like early British YouTube, like your Zoellas, your Tanya Burr, like Jim Chapman, Sprinkle of
Oh
Glitter.
yeah, I remember these group of people because they were like all like a friend group that seemed to be
Yeah, so that was maybe
posting
like
their own content.
2010, I want to say. I don't know, 2010, 2011, 12, early.
Yes.
Like it was like start of high school for
We were
us.
still doing like the scene fringe on Zoella, so we know it was early on.
Yeah, that big side sweep.
That side sweep.
And that was
And
sort
she
of
swept it.
like that was my growing up YouTube. Like that was like I was the target audience of that, and I fully like watched it all. Like loved it.
Do you remember that time that she sold like an advent calendar?
The Jackmate video on that is hysterical.
Like, what did it cost? Was
50
it like
quid.
£80?
It was 50 quid.
Okay, 50 quid.
For a 12-door
and you got
calendar.
about-
That-
It honestly, like, seemed... You know, when you get, like, Christmas crackers and the prizes and that, it seemed like she just made, like, some really cheap prizes and put them in a £50 advent calendar.
Yeah, but then like she's saying that she didn't have anything to do with the price, and she does do a bunch of stuff now. Well, I think she always has, but like for like mental health charities and stuff. So like
Which is great.
I don't believe that she's a demon, but there's a whole
No.
thing with, like,
the thing is that that's just capitalism.
that
When
group
someone
of-
prices their products at that,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
that
They
group
want
of
money.
YouTubers are very in the lane of did they exploit their young audience for money? Maybe a little bit,
Perhaps.
probably not on purpose, and
But
they weren't
then
like,
what-
I'm going to exploit these children, but like,
Yeah, at the same time though, I would say that like it's the same as like, you know, we celebrate artists all the time that go on stage and perform and then sell merch packages of like £150 upwards,
yeah,
you know?
100%.
People will still spend it. So it's not like I wouldn't say those people were necessarily exploiting their audience. They were just taking advantage of an opportunity that they had.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just what everyone seems to do. I think there is like a line to be drawn if like I'm trying to think of a situation that was
but it's just like having a level of taste. Like, do you need to write a book? Like, do you
true or have it ghostwritten.
have it ghostwritten, or like, are you old enough to have an autobiography? Like, has enough happened in your life to justify that? Or like,
I suppose that the argument could be made though for those people that because they had such a sudden rise, there was probably a lot that went on like behind the scenes that they wanted to document, since this is what led to them getting popular on a platform.
no, 100%. Like, I know if I was in that situation, I probably wouldn't be any different. So this, please,
No, of course.
I hope
like,
it doesn't come across like I'm trying to be high and mighty, but
No, it doesn't come. I think it's a really interesting point of discussion to have though, because it's true. Like some of these people made books that you question, did you want to do this, or were you just told by like your publicist or whoever, this is a great opportunity, you should take it. I think
there are
that
people that went on to be
there's a
like
difference.
authors and like fiction writers out of it, but
Oh, precisely. So like those people, clearly they have like a love for fiction or writing, and that's where their base interests are. And I feel like that's where some YouTubers, you can tell that that's what they're meant to do just with the way that they produce their content. Because the people that, I mean, someone who comes to my mind is Mamrie Hart,
yes,
lovely American comedian.
that whole
You Deserve a
squad,
Drink. She made that.
stunning.
Yeah, like her with Grace Helbig and everyone. And that's like another case of people that I think would link in sometimes with British YouTubers, and they do collabs since we went through such a like saturated period of everyone collabing on challenges and whatnot. But when it came to Mamrie Hart, I think that the content that she put out was so clever, thought out and funny, and she was clearly trying to produce herself to be a show, not necessarily just like someone on the camera. And that's why those people that create, I think it really is dependent on the content that you put out into the world, how much people are going to believe like, oh, this book comes from you. Because if you're someone like Mamrie who did cocktail making within a theme and then presented that in a book with cocktail recipes, I would be likely to believe, oh, that's the type of book that you were meant to make.
Yeah, I think the issue is when you have, like, the one that comes to mind was, I think, Pointless Blog did one that was literally just like a book that was like a book of activities. And it was like, fill in this page with a doodle. So it was literally like a prompt on each page.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could probably buy
Did
that.
you become a bestseller?
I have no idea. I didn't.
I feel like that's
purchase,
something that like is on the checklist for quite a lot of the YouTubers that go to publish books. It's like, am I going to get #1 bestseller? Because that's what I'm really looking for with these purchases from my fans.
Yeah, but then like you think about people that are like authors that are like in that trade, and you hope that that might not get the same acclaim due to like less popularity, and
Yeah,
there's
it's
so much goes
unfortunate.
into it. But it's not to say like, because there's been a lot of like cool records broken by people in YouTube, and the relationship between YouTube and mainstream media is sort of starting to like come together.
Yeah,
now.
they're slowly getting there. I think ever since YouTube joined the like Google franchise, you know, ever since they got latched onto the internet itself, practically.
Yeah.
I think that they've received nothing but like full acclaim for being the #1 platform to go to for videos. And yeah, I think there was always like a thing in the early days of, is YouTube the future of entertainment? And in some regards, yes, it was, but it wasn't. I think it was more so it led to more digitalization of content that we'd already watched, because I'll still watch a TV show, but these days I don't have like a thingy box, like a broadband box for it. I just, streaming platforms are what I prefer, and that's just more convenient for people's lives. I feel like that was why YouTube came in to be what it was, because people couldn't always be sure they were going to sit down to watch a program they wanted to see at the same time
Also,
every night.
like in terms of like, the internet is awesome for, especially like YouTube in particular, like that's where press junket clips go, and it's where like all these behind the scenes things that people who are like in the fandom of a show or a film or anything like that, or a book that's coming out, so on and so forth, like there can be so much additional content on YouTube that will be like engaged with to help create hype, that I think the realization that YouTube is excellent marketing for these bigger projects has come across. And then especially over the pandemic, you're seeing a lot of mainstream media stars starting to try and transition into YouTube as a way of
a side gig,
or
a way
even
of
just trying to
having something going on,
be creative during a time like this, that like especially like comedians and stuff.
I think it makes sense though. It's another platform to put content out that's going to get watched just as much as TV would have been back when TV was the only way to consume content.
And it's free.
I mean,
and
not the only
It's free
way,
to
you know.
upload, it's free to consume.
Yeah, I think that's like a huge benefit to it, and that's why we end up with all these moments from around the world that none of us could have anticipated becoming popular or being the trend of their time, but that's what happens because people are able to upload for free. A huge factor that, takes talented person from getting more fame and success as it goes along, because when you get into, like, if you're an actor, for example, imagine like how hard it is to land like those roles that get you to the point you want to be. YouTube is just a way of putting content out, and if you are what people want to see, they'll watch you.
Yeah, and that's again, I think an awesome thing about it is that, like, because anyone can upload, like, there's rumor after rumor about the YouTube algorithm and so on and so forth, but like realistically anyone could go onto YouTube and post anything and organically grow an audience over time. Everyone has the capability to do that. Well, say everyone, like people that want to make videos. Like, if you have the want to do it, you can. And it's just like, to be fair, now I think people have a certain amount of, like, they expect success. Like, they expect to...
True.
I say they, like, as if everyone does, but like some people
out there,
like, and I think because now, like, influencer and creator or whatever can be thrown around as career words.
That's the implication put onto most people that try and post. It's also that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to be an influencer, which
or you're trying to like monetize it in any way.
Yeah,
because YouTube wasn't for, like, when it started
for a long time was not monetized. That's why the people that were so successful in the beginning didn't reap the rewards that they really should have from the company for being, the ones that got the platform where it is.
But yeah, why don't we? We've had a bit of a chat about how we discovered YouTube and the early stages of it all. What are you currently into? What's your realm of YouTube, or realms multiple?
So I'll be on every corner of YouTube that like I can, that fits an interest that I might have. For me, I like comedy, but I also don't like comedy that's like shoved in my face sometimes. I like a bit of like subtle humor.
Okay.
But with that being said, it's called Community Channel, and it's her name's Natalie Tran. She is an Australian YouTuber who's been making content for years upon years, and she doesn't post like super often, but that's because when she does her work, she takes on like, she's like discussing a topic, but then she uses like sketch comedy within her topic.
It's a production.
Where she plays every character.
Yeah.
Oh, she's every character, so she films herself like upwards of 5 times for just one scene. And the way that she does it and is able to edit herself to be so perfectly in place with another version of herself, it's insane. And she puts on such funny situational performances that I've loved since I was a youngin. Younger. And
then you said earlier, YouTube's pretty much where you get your ASMR fix, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I'd say it's always the place that I go to find artists there, and I'm trying to think of like people in particular. I really enjoy, there's a channel called AS Matar who does like impressions and impersonations of characters but in ASMR form, which is always really cool to listen to because you feel like you're in a movie before you go to bed. I'm also just a big like movie geek in general, so I love hearing quotes read back from some of my favorite films. And then like people like GB ASMR, she's just a really popular channel that she'll just do a bunch of different triggers, and sometimes I'll be like, that's the one I want to listen to. Thank you so much for publishing, and then I'll not watch something of hers for a couple of days because she'll maybe do other stuff that I don't really listen to. Yeah,
that's cool.
How about yourself?
I've sort of like written down like 8 subcategories of YouTube that I find that I spend the
we'll go back and forth with them.
So I'll open up with one that I know that we share.
Yes.
And it's food YouTube. And
food YouTube's the best.
People who be making food. I just want to say, like,
Crafting.
I somehow seem to spend a lot of time on vegan food YouTube. Like, as someone who's not a
Okay.
vegan, but like love vegan food, I'm just not a
Yeah.
vegan, and I don't have that much control over my diet at the moment. But I love people like Rachel Amma, Avant-Garde Vegan, Gemma Walsh, Mina Rome, some suggestions for the peeps. But
Lovely suggestion.
our big hitters in the culinary.
Okay. Yes, the ones that we've put some time into.
Are definitely, like, my two big ones are Binging with Babish, or like the Babish
course.
Culinary Universe.
So, the BCU.
Bon Appetit back in the day.
Rest in peace, Bon Appetit, but like the rebirth of Solo Stars.
Solo Stars we love. And then also, like,
Claire's channel. Been having a great time watching her make some desserts
Claire,
from her cookbook.
Carla.
Again, I feel like Erin has told me multiple times about Carla having her own channel, and I've still not like searched for it yet, and I don't know why that is. Why does she not come to my mind immediately
like,
after we talk about her?
It's not her main thing, so like you can subscribe to her Patreon,
Oh,
and then like, you're sort of getting like bits and bobs to try and entice you to pay for the Patreon on the YouTube. But like you are getting like you'll get full videos. But she just doesn't post that often because she's posted it. And then
Posting on
another
her.
one, which
Okay.
I don't know if we're counting as a food one, but I'm counting as a food one, is Hot Ones. The best
Ones is
celebrity
100% a
interview
food
series.
yeah, a very laid back approach from Sean with his interviewing style, topped with them eating extremely spicy food that gets them off guard and really like takes away a lot of, I think, I don't know, sometimes certain celebrities have like a persona that they've got
Yeah.
on heavy, and as soon as they eat like really spicy food, they just kind of focus on the questions and answer honestly, and
Yeah.
I think
It's-
that's sometimes what you really want to hear is the confessions that'll come out with. I mean, that paired up with just the amazing like research done into each celebrity that appears.
the questions that Sean Evans and the team put together for this show,
They're
and his
incredible.
entire interview style is incredible. But basically the objective of it is like they'll eat 10 wings, like chicken wings, vegan wings, this, that, and the other,
Varying spices.
with a scale of 1 to 10, starting at a hot sauce and going to like the hottest sauce available. And and it's watching people suffer as they go on and seeing people surprise you. Like Kristen Bell took it like a champ. Like she
she
nailed it.
did. There's a lot of them that like I expected to cry that didn't, and then a lot who I thought could do it but couldn't.
Gordon Ramsay was
Spicy-
atrocious on it.
Yeah,
but like
he was
interesting
a-
in
it's
conversation.
like a sailor. He swore. He swore like a sailor.
But yeah, so that's Hot Ones. The Babish universe, who have taken on Miss Sola.
Which, I mean, it was perfect because after Bon Appetit had that entire scandal with not actually paying her for content that she was in so many episodes, especially toward the end of their content being released. She was in every episode, and I was like, and you're not being paid for this?
Yeah.
Get out. I'm having the best time watching you, so you deserve like to be paid. And it was a shame what happened, but she is like landed in an incredible gig in
She's
my
thriving,
opinion,
yeah.
and the two of them are, I mean, she's so overqualified for the job
Yeah.
that it was almost insulting to have to hear that someone
Yeah.
of her skill level was being treated the way she was.
So I think she was technically like a recipe tester at the
Yes,
Bon
yes, she
Appetit
was.
Test Kitchen, but she was in the background of a lot of their videos and was given, like, it got to the point that
she'd come and help her friends.
She was being helpful. She was just in a lot of stuff and contributing to a lot of content, but
Given a
not
lot
getting
of
paid.
entertainment.
And that was the whole scandal that happened with Bon Appetit over last summer in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, during the lock. Yeah, it was a real weird time for everything to have gone down. But I'm happy that month or those months seemed to be like a revelation to a lot of people as to what had been going on and injustices that should be fixed.
Yeah, it's all sort of like worked out and the best for the people involved, I think. And
Yeah, for the most part, like it seems as though these people that we were at least aware of are doing better or
And
doing okay.
we're still getting, because it's like recipes, it's food challenges, it's making things that you saw on TV. It's if you enjoy cooking things on telly, there's a whole realm on YouTube for you to discover, and
So much to watch.
it's so fun.
And even in general, like with the cooking side of YouTube, it's not even just sometimes, like I won't even watch entertaining people sometimes. I'll just watch a basic put together recipe instruction. Like I love being able to see what other people do as they do it to learn from. And I think that that's like one of the major things is that we as a generation rely on YouTube for.
Yeah.
Is if we don't know how to do something, someone probably does and has created a video about it. And the only real issue with that is that some people that don't know how to do things properly, or the people that like to...
People that aren't qualified trying to...
Yeah, the people that aren't qualified to give the advice often are the ones giving it loudest and the most.
You see that a lot on like the fitness side of YouTube.
I would imagine. I can't tell anyone in particular that I would have seen that's done it like that, but those people like the 5-minute crafts channels that like basically lie to you and make you think that you can do stuff. That is the annoying side of YouTube that I hate their videos. I have such an like, you're creating something so pointless and I will watch it. You think that you've done something worthless? I'm going to do something more worthless by watching the content that you're lying about.
Well, it's all that, and then, like,
want
the
to know,
BuzzFeed
can you
ones
do it?
and the, like, Watch Mojo and...
Yeah, but that's what they all link in with, like, I think reviews of things. And that goes for, like, reviews of television shows, reviews of, like, makeup. Like, there's so many things that people can have opinions on. And I'm so intrigued to know what people think about things that I think YouTube, especially during this pandemic, when we're not like interacting with a variety of people on a daily basis, it's like, oh, I need to see what a lot of people are up to in the world right now, and I need a bit of variety in the content too, because I can't really deal with the lack of interaction.
Do you want to go on to your next topic?
Yeah. So I would say, okay, there's quite a few that I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to like make a small point about. Do you remember like the YouTube rewind videos and the way that they would make everything like that was like popular in that year come back together?
And then
it was just so interesting because these people didn't live near each other. They'd often be like flown out to a set, and they were really popular for a while. And it also went along with like things like Popped Anthology and stuff.
so
like
it came out at like the end of the year.
Yeah, all the stuff that was like saved up from what we'd just been consuming on YouTube anyway was being put in one huge compilation. And like I remember walking around as a kid with like the YouTube anthology like remixes on as we just went to like, I don't know, fucking climb a hill. We were so boring when I was younger. Like when I think of the activities that we did outside, I'm like, I miss it in some regard. I can't believe that I spent most of my day just climbing stuff to like sit at the top of it. Fun times though. I mean, I do want to get into hiking, so maybe like I'm just looking for the more like adult approach to what I did as a child.
Yeah, just call it adventuring for big boys.
Adventure. So like, I mean, that was like a small mention to that, but then I'd say, I mean, I feel like I talk about comedy like a good amount, but that's just because I like to laugh. And if you don't like to laugh, then I'm so sorry. I don't know who hurt you. I think that like the Saturday Night Lives of YouTube,
SNL clips,
like all of the clips that, because we don't obviously get the show aired over here. Like it's an American-based TV program, so I think being able to watch a full skit with like just as it is as its own content, they're so well done. Like I mean, I could go on about every comedian that makes me laugh on SNL, but that'll take up a lot of time.
Also, like interviews with SNL stars make my life.
Yes, I'd say like the huge like notable standouts are people that we've already like spoken about with like high praise. You know, like Maya Rudolph, Kristen
Wiig.
Kristen. Oh, did you say Wiig?
Yeah.
Did you say Wiig? Do you not know what I'm referencing?
No.
Oh my god, there's this video of Katy Perry on American Idol, and this like one of the gays comes in and he like goes, "Oh my god, wig," and Katy Perry's like, "Wig? Did you say wig?" Like she's so desperate to talk about that one thing that she saw on Twitter that she brings it up, and then when the two other like hosts are asking Katy Perry like what it means, she's like, "It's for us. It's between us." And she knew something, and she said this is an inside joke now, and I think that is so funny to watch live. Anyway, though,
So the hits.
yes. So like Kristen Wiig, I absolutely love Kate McKinnon.
I love Kate
Eddie
McKinnon.
Bryant. The females of SNL do have my like. I'm biased. I think
Yeah.
they're the funnier ones for me. But then, yeah. To Seth Meyers, I think you mean. But McFarlane also is a huge amount of time I've spent watching that comedy as well as a child, because I was one of those children that watched Family Guy really religiously, and
I'm a big Bill Hader fan, and I'm sure I've said it
Bill
on here before,
Hader,
but
like,
Bill Hader is my
these
celebrity
men-
crush.
yeah, he's
Through and through.
great.
Love him.
I think so funny, and oftentimes like I would just like to watch like a laugh like breaking character compilation of him,
Oh, yeah.
because it's just to watch a comedian who clearly is doing an amazing job at making something funny, but is finding it so funny themselves that they can't contain this performance. That's humor, and I love that. And like I used to watch Mad TV as well. That was what I think it aired around the same time as SNL did in like the 90s,
Okay.
early 2000s. And it was a lot more. I mean, so the comedians that were on the show were people like Key and Peele.
Okay.
So like Jordan Peele, obviously, he was like a huge star of the show, and you'll recognize a lot of the actors on it because they seem to always appear in movies, and you're like, "Oh, I remember your face." That's because they were just part of this program that was so popular for a while. But I think it was meant to be like an edgier type of SNL who would very often, go with the
I just remembered
comedy,
like Andy
but never-
Samberg was SNL, and like Will Ferrell was SNL, and
yeah, like not anyone that's like doing really well for themselves in a comedic performance role has probably touched in somewhere on SNL.
John Mulaney
Like even if
as
it
well.
is just in like John Mulaney, and I love Nicole Byer. She's like a
Yes,
huge.
so funny.
She's so funny, and she like auditioned for SNL, and that's how she ended up being best friends with her bestie Sashir, who was on SNL herself. It's like all of these people just seem to link up, and I like their outlook on comedy and
Yeah.
life, so it's nice to watch their content.
No, I love that.
What about yourself?
I don't know where to take it next. Do you know what? It wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about theatre at least for a little bit. So
Please do.
brace yourself. First
Brace
of all,
yourself.
I want to say like a massive shout out to Team Starkid, who brought us
Okay.
initially a very Potter musical, which I think most people will have seen to some degree. Like
Yeah,
even or
yeah.
have heard of.
Do you know what you're making me think of? So I will let you go back to
The
that.
mysterious ticking noise video.
The mysterious ticking noise.
I referenced
Oh
that in my
God.
dissertation. Like that's in my dissertation as a fully mentioned thing.
But it's
Took
so
it very
funny.
seriously. Yeah, so good.
Ron Weasley.
Dumbledore.
That's
Hermione.
so funny. Harry
So
Potter.
yeah,
Harry Potter.
Starkid, who continue to make and release musicals on YouTube for free.
it.
You can buy ticketed things to their events when they do put them on, and to like they did like an online Christmas Carol, and like I would suggest if people are doing theatre, pay to go and watch it, or pay to watch it online or stream it, because
Yeah, support the industry.
support the actors, support the industry. It's collapsing, and I know there's
Going down, girl.
we've all seen a slime tutorial, a little bootleg. It happens, but it is illegal. So just like maybe let's try and support the actors and the companies and
Remember,
behind
we
the
want
scenes.
to rob multi-billion, trillion all the aliens.
Not
like, we want
industries
to
that are
rob
already
those
crippled.
people.
Like,
Yeah, we don't pick on the people who have problems already. We pick on the ones that have none and want problems from us.
So following on from Star Kid, we then had like sub from them, Tin Can Brothers, who also make and produce musicals online and comedy sketches and stuff.
Love it.
The one that I've seen that I loved the most was they did Spies the musical, or like it was something about it was basically like James Bond the musical, and it was hysterical and playing on all the tropes and so well written, like so funny, so funny. And then we have like people who are West End stars or Broadway stars that have YouTube channels. So you have like your Carrie Hope Fletcher, who is the little sister of Tom from McFly. Fun fact.
That's a fun little link there.
And then one of my favorite people that I follow online is called Grace Moat, and she was swing for Six, the musical, when it initially toured the UK and did the Edinburgh Fringe, and is now like on the West End. She was the so like a swing's like an understudy, but they do like multiple parts and stuff. So she was on that. She like does lifestyle stuff, theatre stuff. Love it. And then we have like theatre commentary channels, which is just a whole other thing. And the two that I have written down for that is Kat Steele, who is an American YouTuber who does like commentary, and she's quite, I would say, like for the theatre world, most people would have seen a Kat Steele video. And then there's a girl called Amy Lovett who is UK, and her videos are hysterical. Like her reacting to, like, seeing people react to theatre because theatre scandals happen. As
every industry has a scandal, I would be shocked if they didn't.
And then especially like in the times that we're in currently, like there's so much going on, and they also all talk about Glee and stuff like that as well, which we love because
there was this Glee podcast, the idea that we're definitely going to be having a discussion about someday, because that show is the amount of time I spent. Yeah, there was so much of it that I watched, and yet I can't watch a lot of it back now without being like, oh, cringe.
I've not seen it in about I was 7 years, but I like rest assured that if like the Warblers version of a song came onto a playlist, like am I gonna skip it? Or like the Glee Smooth Criminal. The Glee Smooth Criminal is gonna be like in my soul forever. Original. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but I'd stand by that. Also, Naya.
Naya.
I love Naya. And I would say for me, other types of content that I really enjoy. I will explain that I am a fan of comic books. I really do enjoy the stuff that DC and Marvel will come out with, because I think superheroes are just a fun medium to discuss topics through. And I find that I often cannot, financially, it's just not, it's not really something you can do.
It's a spending hobby.
Buying. Yeah, it is quite a spending hobby, especially if you like want to display and everything as well. So I find that too difficult to do, but I really enjoy watching like comic recap channels. There's this host of a channel, I forget the name of the channel, but I know her name's Sasha. And she does comic breakdowns a lot of the time, and she'll do like a good history of a character if you've never heard of them before. And I think so often these days, when there's new characters that are being introduced, if you watch like the Marvel content that they come out with, like I sometimes don't know a lot about the character that's just suddenly appeared on the screen, and I like a bit of context. I like to feel like I'm there, I'm watching, and I understand what's happening. Yeah, I like to have the full experience.
I love that.
Sometimes I'll do my research, and that's often how I like to learn.
Yeah, I do like that, but Harry Potter and Pixar. That's where I live on the internet, and like channels
like the theory side of things
like,
too.
Yeah, so like Movie Flame, Super Carlin Brothers, that whole realm of YouTube. I love that. I love the theories. I love like the Pixar theory is so just amazing and incredible, and I love hearing how things get added. But then obviously I've said many times, I do enjoy Harry Potter and like the Harry Potter universe. We've said our piece about JK.
The HBU.
Yeah, like the character, like I love the videos that are like the story, like just telling the whole story of a character.
Yeah, they give you the... I think that it's a very interesting way to analyze something deeper, because often when, like, if you, for example, like with the Harry Potter stuff, you can read all the books, but all these like things you're learning about a character sometimes get taken over by a bigger plot. And I think it's just that you can put more attention in by watching these types of studies of a character from like book 1 to book 8, you know,
or just like these franchises, like comic books and films and TV shows will all have been made off of the one thing. So like
even novels,
there's like
the same,
parts of
like,
information everywhere, and it's like for it all just to be like collated and put together in a lovely video essay,
a lovely little package for you to understand and can. I like any type of... I think it's a thing of convenience.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's too inconvenient to consume the content you want, and so you find other ways that you can condense said content down and have a good time with it.
100%.
That's what I like about YouTube, is finding stuff that does that. And also, I still like... I'll watch a music video release on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've never really been able to get away from, if a big artist has like dropped a video, I want to see what they're bringing, because we're still listening to the music, and I think it's always interesting to know who's going to end up at like the awards shows for the year.
Or just like, especially with K-pop and stuff, it's cinema.
Oh, totally.
Like, you want to see that.
Oh yeah,
visual.
there's some real stuff going on in that realm as well, but in general, like, it's, even if it's just like a lyric video has been released for something that I like the sound of, I'm like, well, I want to know what the words mean. I want to know who's like putting in the lyrics that are going to get them nominated, especially when it comes to that eventual, like, you know, the Grammys race.
Yeah.
But that being said, it seems as though the Grammys is slowly becoming like less and less favored, because there's certain artists that seem to be like censored by them or like completely disregarded, even though they did the best, like just from the standpoint of like sales in a year, which...
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really engaged with the Grammys.
Hard
I have
thing.
a pop music degree, and I don't really engage with the Grammys. But I know it's just because I never have. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's only so famous because it was an institution that worked for a while, and now it's just kind of falling out of favor because we've continued to evolve and they haven't.
Yeah, but like,
that's my take on the Grammys.
Yeah, I think a pretty agreeable opinion. I might just do like a whistle stop tour of the rest of my realms.
Give us the tour. I'm getting on the train to Let's Take Out the Station. Where are we going first?
So I basically just have YouTube that I watch that suits my hobbies, as we all do.
Okay.
So we have like fitness and lifestyle kind of stuff. I love people like Natasha Ocean, Michelle Carey, Blogolates, Linda Sun, like people who are here for a positive message and a good time. Natasha Ocean is a personal favourite because she's about the science behind it all. She's like not here to like tell you to do a fad diet or anything. She's like, this is like the nutrition science, and they do like super fun challenges. Like, I ran a marathon on no training, and you're like, that's just... You're a superwoman. Like, people like Michelle Carey does like, I trained like X superhero, or like I trained like a Victoria's Secret model.
I've seen a couple of those appear where it's like, obviously if you watch any of the content for like Marvel, like you'll see that there's videos. Even I think Chris Hemsworth, Thor himself, has like a full channel with all of his trainers that show all the ways that they work out.
And then, so that's like a whole like vibe. And then I have like art channels that I love, like people doing making things, graphic illustration, just like about artist life. A personal favourite is The Purple Palace. She's an American living in Paris.
Okay.
And it's just her, like, they're very healing to watch. Just someone live their creative process and go through it. And I find it very, like, if I'm trying to motivate myself, I'll watch something like this because I'm like, oh, this makes me want to go and make things. And then in terms of, like, also another note on just like film YouTube, like channels like The Take that do video essays and stuff like that, or like
Yeah, I was
reacting
gonna
to
say
film.
that I linked. I mean, we spoke about it before, but Movie Bitches is that channel for me. They just they review cinema and
Yeah.
they point out all the good stuff that I love to talk about too.
So fun. And then I have like a final section which I've just called like standard British YouTube at the moment, which is like people that I like are like Bambino Becky, Chi with a C, like funny
Oh, Chi with the C.
funny
Yeah.
people doing funny things. Robbie Knox does like walks with people, like he just goes on walks and they have a chat and they have a cup of tea.
Oh,
I love that. That's the kind of content that I
interesting.
need.
I like the concept.
And then I have my final piece is study tube and like people that do
Okay.
like sort of academic kind of stuff. So there's like or just like reading, like booktube kind of realm. Love that.
I like a study type channel. I think they're very interesting to learn something from, because if you have the time to learn something, I feel like you feel so much better in a day if you just learn one thing new. And sometimes that'll come to you like just in your day-to-day life and you'll be surprised by it. But I feel like for those days where I don't really think I've acquired anything and I've just kind of existed, I'm like, well, I'm gonna do at least one thing or find out about something new.
Yeah, I think especially like using YouTube to facilitate something you're learning about anyway as well is super
Yeah.
helpful. Like yeah, there's so much out there that you can't even begin to list off stuff. But did you have any other final areas of the internet that you live on?
I mean, these days, I like a gameplay video. I think they're very fun because, you know, I think that notably a lot of people seem to have taken interest in the game like Among Us. Like, a lot of people have been playing that. Even like Congresswoman AOC, love her. She's great. I think just that's not necessarily the type of videos I watch, but because I game, I often like to watch other people playing the same stuff that I'm doing, and I like to learn new things that I maybe didn't know about it that way. But beside gaming, any other like last second opinions on YouTube? I feel like the only thing I just want to say is that I think that YouTube is an incredible platform that, although yeah, maybe sometimes has a questionable algorithm, more often than not, I seem to be quite pleased with the results because I'll click on stuff that's been recommended to me and somehow it works. And I think that it's just finding the themes that you want to watch on YouTube.
Yeah, I
'Cause
think
it has everything.
you find your places, and the more you go to these places, the more you'll be recommended other
Yeah.
creators and smaller creators and stuff. It's all fun and games. And then something that I don't think either of us really deal with in any way is like commentary YouTube, in the sense of like YouTube talking about other YouTubes
Oh, yeah, no.
or like
I
cancel
find-
culture or anything like that. We're not.
Well, yeah, for me, it's the drama channels. I think that there's a weird vibe going on there. I feel like if you spend, I think that to be fair, there are some channels out there that I'm sure probably create like really unbiased content that are just putting something across. But sometimes it feels like if there was like a tabloid side of YouTube, this is it. Where like it's kind of just discussing the same stuff we've already heard
And the
about
same
before.
people, yeah.
Yeah, about the same people that are maybe friends, maybe not friends. Maybe they said something slightly shady toward another person. Maybe they didn't. Like, it's all speculation, and I find it really hard to like sink my teeth into anything like that because it just feels a little venomous, and I'm not really on YouTube to watch that.
Yeah, but
But I
therefore,
respect that some people are, and if that's the content that you enjoy, then
go
work.
with it. Yeah.
Cool.
Why don't we then wrap up with a little baby conversation about
Okay.
why we like YouTube so much, why we love it.
We'll start with you. What do you like most about YouTube?
I think it's just like it doesn't take up. You can choose how much you want to put into it, how much you want to engage, and that's sort of my main thing. Like, this is probably a whole thing where like people are going to come for the whole thing that the internet's ruining people's attention spans, but like I feel like I can only watch one intense-ish, and by intense I mean like kind of scripted fiction TV show at a time. Like I can only invest like something like Bridgerton or Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Like I can watch one show like that at a time.
A full production. You can only really go for the full shebang all at once.
And then I sort of fill the rest of the watching space with sort of little reality TV or and that's where YouTube comes in as well. Is like it's sort of, you can choose to watch things that you need to give attention to, or you can choose to have stuff on in the background. As you said before, like we're very much of the generation, like if we need help, we're probably gonna go to YouTube to find an answer.
Yeah, we'll find that out.
Didn't realise how much time I spend on YouTube, and then all of a sudden was like, wow, I am here a whole bunch.
The pandemic made it more apparent than ever, I'd say.
But yeah, I enjoy it. What about you?
I think it's just that I think YouTube had like I don't want to ever paint like a huge, corporation as like an underdog, but like I would say that in terms of how the media was presented and consumed to begin with, we've just seen how it's progressed on, and at the end of the day, I think that YouTube is still a platform that is able to take content creators and present them it's able to present them with success if they have the creativity and imagination, like to go and do something on it.
Yeah.
And not just be like, the only way to be successful being on a television is not the case anymore. You know, like we do live in an age of influencers and all these YouTubers and everything, and they make success work for them because they're creative with the content they put out, and I think that
they have creative control.
Incredible.
And then there's people that like scale it up as well. Like you can have people doing it in their bedroom with an iPhone. Yep. And then there's people that maybe have like a bit more money and have invested in a nice camera and some studio lights and whatever. Totally. And it goes all the way up to like people who now own channels that are actually like companies that have their own editors and it's like a TV production. I just think it's incredible like production that studio.
People were able to do this with that little website that, was being looked down upon for quite a while. Yeah. But anyway, YouTube's fun and we're fans.
Yeah, so we've been chatting about this for a little while now, so we're going to wrap it up. We might even come back and talk about more specifics of realms of YouTube another day. But totally. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the It's Not Always Dark podcast.
Merci beaucoup.
If you have enjoyed, please give us a little subscribe, maybe a like if you feel like it.
A subscription.
Just so that like you know that we're here. New episodes are coming out every Friday. So make sure you're ready for us, Set aside a little time in your day.
We're ready for you. We're always ready for you.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for listening. We have been Kieran and Erin, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.